Hey everybody, you're watching a physio named Jonah. That's this guy. Today we'll be discussing Rashaad Penny, a man whose body does not like NFL football. Rashaad Penny, running back for the Seattle Seahawks, injured his ankle in the Seahawks Week 5 game against the Saints this past Sunday. The injury is going to require surgery, which will keep him out for the rest of the 2022 NFL season. In today's video, I'll be explaining what Penny's injury was, what happens now, as well as what to expect moving forwards. I am a physiotherapist, so of course I'll talk a little bit of anatomy, but I'm also a really big football fan, so we're going to talk about on-field implications, as well as just what it means for the team. Be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and click the bell so you are notified when I release more videos like this one later in the season. There should be lots more to come because people just don't stop getting injured in the NFL. Every week, bodies destroyed. I don't know why I like this sport as a physio. Rashaad Penny's ankle injury was what the kids these days like to call not great. He fractured his tibia, or at least that's what was originally reported, before being corrected to a fibular fracture. In addition to this, he also had a high ankle sprain, just to add that little extra twist to the knife with an injury like this. The lower leg, or shin, is made up of two bones, the tibia as well as the fibula. If you are going to break one, which I do not recommend, the fibula is the better option to break. It doesn't bear weight directly like the tibia, and it's a smaller bone, making for an easier healing process. Let's talk about that high ankle sprain though. It might not sound like it, but that high ankle sprain that he had and the fibular fracture are very much related to each other. See this point right at the bottom where the tibia and fibula come together? Right above the joint where we're connecting shin to foot, the ankle joint? Seems like that would be a pretty important part of the body, right? Seems like a lot of force might go through there. And if you had connective tissues that were holding those bones together, you'd probably want them to stay intact. Rashaad Penny's are no longer intact. I mean, it makes sense why they're related then, right? If the fibula is half of this bony connection, where we're connecting fibula to tibia, and the ligaments holding it together are what gets sprained in a high ankle sprain, then breaking that bone is likely going to be very related to a sprain of the ligaments connecting off of that bone. That leaves us where we are today. Rashaad Penny has a high ankle sprain as well as a fibula fracture. It sounds like the high ankle sprain is pretty severe as well, because that's the injury that Pete Carroll was talking about the surgery being required for. Pete Carroll, coach of the Seattle Seahawks, suggested that the high ankle sprain was the part of this injury that was actually going to require the surgery to stabilize those bones back together. So it must have been a pretty severe high ankle sprain or pretty high degree of ligament tearing at that site. You can now easily see why the kids call it not great. Next up, what happens now? If Penny tore the ligaments connecting the tibia and fibula together and fractured his fibula, then the surgery is going to have to stabilize the fractured bone back together while also recreating the stability from the torn ligament. Surgery like this on an area like this obviously equals no football for the rest of the season, hence Penny already being ruled out for the remainder of the 2022 NFL season. Quick aside here on season-ending injuries, when I was growing up and watching football, I used to think that season-ending injuries must be so bad to keep somebody off of the football field for a full year. Like, I think I just assumed that if they had a season-ending injury, it meant that they were going to be pretty much laid up in a hospital bed for the rest of the season. Because what else could keep someone off the football field? These guys love playing football and are paid a lot of money to play football. If they can play, they're going to play. Oh, you sweet, sweet, sheltered, Zelda-loving child. You just didn't understand, did you? Rashaad Penny's surgery will likely happen in the very near future after me releasing this video, if it hasn't happened already. It usually happens within the first couple days after an injury. After that, he'll likely be in a walking boot for a few weeks, unable to weight bear on that foot, as he has to give the surgery time to recover. But before the end of this season, he'll be walking around on 2 feet with no boot again. He just won't be ready to run and get hit by mammoths of human beings on a football field. What I'm trying to get across here is that just because an injury is season ending doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be insanely catastrophic. It just means that after the surgery or whatever is required, the recovery process is going to extend past the rest of this season to the point where they're not ready to play during this year. And if that's super obvious to you, then you are smarter than me when I was 8. Penny's rehab is going to mostly be delayed because of the high ankle sprain component of this injury. I know breaking bones sounds bad, but if Penny had just broken his fibula, there's a really high chance he would have been back and ready well before the end of the season. Bones take 4, 6, 8 weeks to heal, all things depending, and people can be back onto it and moving fairly quickly, especially with a bone like the fibula that doesn't directly bear weight. I know this sounds kind of weird to say, but from an injury perspective, breaking a bone is usually better than tearing ligaments or muscle. Bones heal really, really well and have a pretty set timeline of what we can expect for recovery. Things get a lot more complicated when we start including torn ligaments or torn muscle tissue. The fact that the high ankle sprain component is there means that Penny's not going to be able to get back to weight-bearing, explosive impact activities nearly as quickly as he would if it was just a broken fibula. This is going to be the delaying component that keeps him from getting back this season. So if we know that Penny is going to be out for the remainder of this season, well, let's do what any good fan does and start talking about next season. The season that still, in most cases, disappoints most teams. Rashaad Penny should be fully healed and ready to go for next season. I'm quite confident that this is not the kind of thing that's going to limit him significantly into the off-season, take away a bunch of his training camp. He should be back with more than enough time to prepare for next season and be ready for week 1. As heartbreaking as it is for this season, an injury like this really shouldn't linger on beyond this season, shouldn't be the kind of thing that reoccurs, and shouldn't limit his explosiveness moving forwards. The real question becomes, though, what does this actually materialize into for Rashaad Penny? Rashaad Penny was on a 1-year prove-it deal with the Seahawks this year. And he was proving it. He was playing really, really well. Rashaad Penny has had such an unlucky, unfortunate run since getting into the NFL. He's basically never looked bad while playing on an NFL football field, but injuries have just completely sidetracked the early part of his career. Because of injuries, he was never able to fully overtake Chris Carson in the Seahawks backfield before, and now, after Carson didn't come back for the season because of neck injuries, it was all there in front of him. He dominated at the end of last season and had definitely earned the opportunity to take over the backfield and show what he was capable of. This led to really big expectations coming into this year and a 1-year prove-it deal to say, go out, show us what you're made of, we'll give you a contract at the end of next season. And he was proving it, he really was. And then this happens, right? It's so unfortunate for a running back like this who is in the path of coming back to dominance after being injury-riddled before, to be hit with another injury. You really feel for this guy. I really, really feel for this guy. And now we're in a situation where the Seahawks have a highly drafted, young, explosive running back behind Penny who's going to have the remainder of this season to show what he's got. Ken Walker has from week 6 on to basically take over the Seahawks backfield and showcase himself as a lead back for the rest of this year. The job that should have been Penny's for the rest of the year. And that leaves us with the question of, after this offseason, after being injured, will Penny be able to walk back into his starting role for next year? Or will he be stuck behind Walker, walking the sidelines, holding a walkie-talkie? Okay, but seriously, once young, highly drafted running backs like Walker get control of a backfield, they may never give it up. And where is this going to leave Penny? Does he chest the free agency market? Does he come back to the same team that has known him since they drafted him? It makes a really unfortunate situation for a running back who was ascending at a later time than expected, but was fully coming into his own. I absolutely wish him the best as he goes through his recovery through this season and the best for next season, but I really am worried about what the future is going to hold for a running back with a history of injuries like Penny now has. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. Appreciate that. I hope you learned a little more about Rashaad Penny's injury and what a high ankle sprain is, what a fibula fracture is, and you just understand a little more about how this situation can impact an NFL running back. If you enjoyed the video, consider hitting that thumbs up button down below as well. That tells YouTube that you enjoyed this video and helps my videos reach more interested viewers like yourself. So, thank you for the support. I appreciate you guys sticking around here until the end. If you have any questions about this injury, another football injury, anything physio related, drop them for me in the comments section down below, and I look forward to talking with you there. I do my best to get back pretty quickly, so talk to you soon. But most importantly though, guys, as always, move your body, have a laugh today, and I will see you at the next video.